Hey everybody, welcome back to the Dungeon Dive. Daniel here. I hope you are doing well. All right, in this second part of our newer series on Machina Arcana, we're going to be taking a look at the books and the art and lore books, and we're going to be focusing on the new books. We'll take a quick look at the end at the old books, because I can't remember if I've done that or not. These were from first edition. I believe this main book here, the Codex Eternum, was also available when they kickstarted the second edition. And this third book here, the Codex Eternum, is the newest one. So we're going to start with Codex Arcanum here. So these are pretty cool books, really nicely made. Some of the better board game books that I've seen. Really nice paper, very thick, nice covers, nice binding. All in all, I am incredibly happy with both of these books, and they are also available at retail. So these are not like Kickstarter exclusives. So if you didn't get them and you want to get them, you can go ahead and still purchase them. So the first book here, it starts off with the same story that was originally started and written in the first book here. Not a lot of the text has changed vastly. There are some different editing decisions made, and a few changes that I've noticed. I think I haven't read everything word for word, but I really liked this first book. I thought it was a really neat addition to have in the box, and it went a long way into getting me into the world of this game. And like I said in the last video, this is a game that when I open the book, when I open the box, I feel like I am entering into a detailed world that is a very thoughtful world. And these books go a long way into making me feel like that. So you get a really nice background story written about the characters and about their expedition into this Mountains of Madness type scenario, where they are going deep into these icy caverns and these dungeons beneath the ground to explore and figure out what is going on. You get a nice overview here of all the different characters. And then it starts to get into some of the, so these are like the chapter cards in these scenarios, just expanded with the art made much bigger and the same text. So you can read all of the different chapters from the different scenarios with all of the art. So well done. And like I said, the pages are just really nice and thick. I mean, I think these books are actually like nicer than the Kingdom Death Monster Manual. So for those of you who have that, who don't have these, you can kind of see what I'm talking about, make that comparison. But I love reading these, and it reminds me a lot of the special rules, the special edition rules for Arkham Horror 3rd edition. That was a book that I greatly enjoy reading, and it goes a long way to increasing my enjoyment of the game. And I can say the same thing for this. After we get past the chapters here, then we get into our Bestiary. And the original Bestiary was in its own book here. And we're just going to flip through this real quick. And this does have all of those incredible, nice black and white line drawings, which I am incredibly fond of. I think this is a really great Bestiary here. One of my favorites to read. I absolutely love it. It's super cool. And I do like the new art. I think the new art is very nice, but I am particularly fond of this old style art. So I'm really glad that I have this. But you can't go wrong with this nice art, and the pages are really nicely laid out and everything is well written. So I do like having this. You can just read a little bit more about the monsters that you're going to be fighting in this game. And so you can kind of connect with them on an intimate level. Like, who would want to connect with this Dark Young on an intimate level, right? The painting of the Shoggoth is one of my favorites. That's a great depiction of a Shoggoth. I really, really like that a lot. Then we're coming up to the end of the Bestiary here, and here we have, this is pretty cool. We have written out the some of the text from some of the cards. More about, this is more about the expansion here, but then we get into like the cards, and so we get a nice layout here of all of the different cards that you can get. So pictures of all of the weapons here. You got pictures going into the apparel, into the armor. Really nice layout here. I love this. And pictures of all of the relics, and then the consumables. And then here we have all of the text from all of the different non-combat cards, all of the different event cards. You can go ahead and read those if you would like. So just really neat. Again, very thoughtful design, giving people who like to dive into the lore of their games an ability to do that without having to dig out the box and look at everything. And this is my favorite part of this book. And this is a detailed look at the creation of the game. I actually wish that this was like a full book. I would love to read a full book like this on the creation of the game with like all of the prototype pictures. So it starts in the very earliest. Here we have February 2013. We've got some very rough sketches of some of the item cards. It looks like it used to be more of a kind of traditional dungeon crawl with different tiles and corridors. They do talk a little bit here about how the characters were simplified throughout the production of the game. They started off with some abilities that you would upgrade, and the characters had more detail, and they kind of shrunk that down. Part of me wishes that they still had the abilities. I think if I have like one complaint about the game is as you progress through the scenario, the characters start to feel more and more the same. They start off different because each one has a different power and a different opening attack kind of thing. But very quickly, those become less and less important as you get more and more gear. So your character becomes less defined as an individual throughout the game. So it's not a strong game at the character level in how it differentiates the different characters, but through getting gear and stuff, you can make your character different if you want. But it does talk a little bit about how the characters were going to be a little more complex. But I think the game is already complex enough that we don't need another layer. So ultimately, I think I'm glad with their decision. But then we get here into, we're going into the how it looks now, the graphic design here. Actually, this is still from the first edition here, because that was the original scenario board that you would use. This is very cool, this kind of evolution of the different art styles from one to the next. This middle ground, I'm not sure where that is from. That's pretty cool. I mean, it would be neat if this was first, second, and third edition, but this is first and then second and third. So I'm not sure where these like middle pictures came from. That is pretty cool to see. I would like to see an entire selection of these middle examples. Maybe those were like sketches done to finalize these final versions. Some of the monsters stayed relatively the same. Some of them look a lot different. And then we get into a little bit more about the game design. Talks a little bit about the details of designing the different game variants, or having a rich gaming experience, how the end game is different for each scenario. So I really like stuff like that. There's not enough kind of making of material for these kinds of games that we like. I would love to read, you know, a history, an oral history of, you know, Warhammer Quest or Talisman. I'm not quite sure why those kinds of things don't exist. So here is the book written by Andy Lennon, friend of the channel. And this is all about the new expansion, which details a different group of explorers going into the mountain of madness, and very well written. Andy is a fantastic writer. I always love reading his reviews. He's an expert at purple prose of really wringing the language for all it's worth. And I've read almost this entire book, and I really enjoyed it. It is a great detail. It is in and of itself. This book here is a good piece of weird fiction, and I could even like recommend somebody who maybe is not super into board games just reading this as a interesting work of fiction. This reminds me of something that I would have seen when I was a kid at B. Dalton or Walden Books. Remember those Dinotopia books? How you would read and like they create this whole world, and you know, there weren't games for them. They were just books. And this could be like one of those books where it was just creating an interesting world with characters that would be the background for a game. Well, now we have the book that details the background, and we have the game. So it's a complete package. And that is one of the things that I really like about this. Man, these paintings are just incredible, especially this thing here. One of the things about this game is it's very easy for me to put myself into the shoes of the explorers, just because of everything in the game is so detailed that I can really put myself in that position of being of feeling that kind of isolation and horror of being in these otherworldly locations. Oh man, that is fantastic piece of art right there. Really, really good. So this is going back to some of that old style art, and I had not seen these before. So I don't know if those were new pieces made for this book, or if they just kind of found some of the old art that they had. Very nice though. And then once we get through all of our chapters, once we get through all of our main story, then we do come to the bestiarium, the bestiary for the new creatures here. So we did take a look at some of those, the Envoy of Dagon, the Spiders of Lang, our Sathoga, the Chocho, the Cthulhu Yig there, our Snake God, the Hunting Horror. Man, I love that drawing. That is so cool. Very nice. And then we, again, like the other book, we do get into our pictures of all of our cards. So we get pictures of our new items here. And then we also get detailed writings and the text of all of our event cards. So again, if you want to explore those without having to get out the game, look at the cards, you can. And then one of my favorite things about this book is Uri went and he named the different tiles. So this is, oh man, this is so cool. The different tiles, I don't know if they've always had names, but again, it kind of creates this sense of place now. So when we're in this tile here, tile A, we know we're in the courtyard. The flip side of the courtyard is the cross pit. And then we have the Ritual of Chewed from Stephen King's It, right? Trapped Freezers location, Barrels of Fun, Blood Falls, Grizzly Grotto, Incubator. These sound like video game levels, some of them. And one thing that I want in this game is the ability to play shorter, more condensed scenarios. And I was thinking yesterday about ways to create very small scenarios, a scenario that can be played in like an hour and a half, one scenario, where you are only playing on one tile. And each tile could have its kind of own little scenario associated with it, with different ways that you would interact with the different elements on the tile, different ways that things would get reset or used or not used. And I think that would be a really neat idea to have a book of scenarios that you could play one-off scenarios with each one using one of the different tiles in the game. That could be an incredible expansion. I actually asked Uri that. I sent him an email to ask if he had ever thought about doing that. And that could be a really neat thing. You could even released it in a zine style expansion to kind of like capitalize on the zine craze happening. And then you also get pictures of all of your chapter tiles. So these are all of the different little chapter tiles that are used in the new expansion. So just fantastic stuff here, guys. If you like the game and you just want to get more into the world, more into the theme, and get lost in all of the crazy creations that this team has made, and these books are fantastic. So, all right, guys, well, I hope you enjoyed this look, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.